Star Wars fans have always loved games that actually put them in the role of becoming a Jedi. From the Jedi Academy games to KOTOR to The Force Unleashed, being a Jedi in a video game is one thing that is sure to get Star Wars fans on board. Or at least it used to be. After the shallow puddle of a game that was EA's first Star Wars release, and the microtransaction hellhole that was its second, gamers, especially Star Wars fans, began to hate EA even more than they already did, leading to large sections of EA's former consumer base now openly boycotting their releases. So when it was announced that EA was making a single-player Star Wars game based around the story of a Padawan who had survived Order 66, and then we later found out the game would have no microtransactions at all, fans were rightly skeptical. We've seen companies make these sort of promises only to go back on them once pre-orders start rolling in. And as release date approached, we waited for the news of how EA was going to take what should be a home run idea and completely fuck it up. But that news never came. Fallen Order has released, and it is exactly what EA said it would be. A single-player Star Wars game with no microtransactions. And friends, it truly is amazing. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order seems like a game from a bygone era. Not just the fact that it's a single-player game with no microtransactions, we still have those games come out every once in a while, but in how it goes about telling its story and the gameplay systems it employs. Now, before I go any further, I want to warn you I will be talking about the gameplay systems in the game, the abilities you get later in the game, and a few story spoilers. I won't be giving anything major away, but I will be showing footage from one planet in particular that you may or may not go to until later in the game, and some of the characters that you'll meet there. You have been warned.
At least we have the high ground. What was that? Another hijacked cutter!
In this game, you play as Cal Kestis, a survivor of the Jedi Purge, who has been hiding for the last 5 years on the planet Baraka, working in the scrapyards, breaking down Clone Wars-era ships so the Empire can make new ones. As a prequel fanboy, it was sad to see these majestic Clone Wars ships be destroyed just so the Empire can build a new fleet. Cal's friend ends up falling off one of the ships that they're working on, and Cal risks revealing himself to save him. Not long after, the Inquisitors show up and you're forced to defend yourself until Seer and Grease rescue you out of the blue and ask you to join them as they try to rebuild the Jedi Order. This is where you get introduced to the Mantis, your ship, where you are able to travel to different planets, customize your lightsaber, meditate, and grow plants from seeds you pick up in the world. On the first planet you visit after escaping, you will find your new droid companion, BD-1, in a very Star Wars-y way. I'll let you play for yourself to see what I mean by that. And before we go any further, let's just stop and appreciate how amazingly cute this little droid is real quick. BD shows you a series of holographic messages from a former Jedi Master, who sends you on a journey to retrieve a holocron that contains the location of Force-sensitive children across the galaxy. BD-1 also serves as your map, which updates as you explore each new planet. Yellow doors show which ones you could access but haven't yet, and red ones show which ones you're not able to go through yet. Now, these maps are not open worlds like Assassin's Creed, but they're not really linear either. I liken it to God of War's maps in that, like God of War, where you had multiple realms that you traveled in between using the one central location, this game has multiple planets that you have to travel in between using your ship, one central location. But make no mistake about it, these maps are much larger than those in God of War. These maps feel less like linear paths and more like giant mazes, filled with collectibles, cosmetic customization pieces, and little tidbits of Star Wars lore hidden behind every corner. Traversal is extremely fun thanks to things like force-pulling ropes to use a swing on, wall running, climbing, and sliding down mud or ice. As you explore, you can open up shortcuts that make traversing the world much quicker and easier. Throughout the world, there are meditation points, like the one on your ship. This is how you save your game, spend your skill points, and heal yourself. However, if you do choose to heal yourself, all the enemies in the world will respawn. Also, when you die in combat, you will respawn at your last meditation point. While this can be frustrating at times, it makes dying in the game have weight to it. So many action-adventure games today are happy to just respawn you a few seconds away from where you died. But this game is willing to let there be consequences for failure and raise the stakes in combat. Speaking of combat, Fallen Orders is extremely challenging. At least for me it was, and I was playing on normal difficulty. Of course, you can one-on-one most enemies pretty well, but if you have a large group that you're fighting against, it becomes very hectic and you have to learn to keep your cool and trust your training, just like a Jedi would. You have to mix your force powers with different lightsaber attacks, and dodging, and rolling, and parrying if you want to stand a chance. It can be very frustrating to die and have to go all the way back to your last meditation spot, but it's also just as addicting taking out an entire squad of stormtroopers and K2 droids without taking a hit. I'm someone that gets frustrated with games very easily, and I never wanted to put this game down no matter how many times I died. I got so addicted to taking down these large groups of enemies in these different cool-looking ways, using all these different abilities at my disposal. The boss fights are also extremely difficult, and you're going to die a lot, especially later on in the game. But this is where I was really forced to learn how to observe my opponent and see what their weaknesses were, and figure out which of my abilities I needed to use to combat this. The enemies you will face in this game fall into three categories: Imperial, Natural, and Bounty Hunters. The Imperial enemies include Stormtroopers, Purge Troopers, Inquisitors, you know what those are. The natural enemies are the native species of the planets that you'll visit. Each present a different threat and have unique strengths and weaknesses, like the other enemies in the game do, that distinguish themselves from those on the other planets. I'll explain. On Bogano, I fought several bug-like creatures that took about 3 regular lightsaber hits to kill, or 1 heavy hit to slice in half. I then went to Zepho, where I faced similar bug creatures that instantly die once hit, but explode a few seconds after dying. Finally, on Dathomir, I faced spider creatures that died in about as many hits as those on Bogano, exploded after dying like those on Zepho, and also left behind a pile of toxic waste after dying. After you kill any enemy in the game for the first time, BD1 can scan it and tell you exactly what its strengths and weaknesses are. This diversity of enemies on each planet helped keep the game from getting repetitive and made going back to each planet worth it, as I had to change my fighting style to match the species on each particular planet. The third group of bounty hunters consists of some Braxian Hood bounty hunters that come after you after a minor and somewhat confusing plot point that I won't go into at this point. These enemies are challenging and interesting, but I did not find many of them throughout my playthrough. They're honestly kind of random after this plot point. I really wish this would have been explored more instead of what felt like just kind of being tacked on for no reason. If you took the bounty hunter part out of this game completely, it wouldn't affect the story whatsoever. If you're a Star Wars fan, the story in this game alone is worth the $60 price tag. 2 characters in the game have already made it into my top 10 favorite Star Wars character list, and it's not even any of the 3 main ones. Speaking of the characters, I've heard a lot of people say that Cal is a very bland protagonist, and I honestly disagree with this. When we first meet Cal, he's in hiding. He doesn't trust anyone because he can't afford to, and he's burying his feelings about how his life has changed since Order 66. As we see him go on this mission to find the holocron, he begins to open up to his new friends and begins to deal with the survivor's remorse he has. The entire Jedi Council is dead, and yet him, this weak Jedi Padawan that can't even hold onto his lightsaber, was able to survive? Why? There's one line in the game that I feel summarizes the main theme of it. You cannot have a future without the past. Cal and his friends are trying to deal with their feelings about the past, and how they're going to move forward in this new galaxy where the Empire has control. This is honestly very similar to the themes presented by Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi, that you have to move on from the mistakes and heartaches of the past before you can move forward and find your destiny. You have to let the past die. Kill it if you have to. And honestly, this is a message I can appreciate. I've always said I would rather have a game that looks like crap, but is fun to play, than a game that looks amazing and plays like crap. This is Fallen Order. The graphics on this game do look good for the most part, and I was playing on an original series PS4, so I'll chalk up most of my graphic and stabilization problems to that. Nonetheless, there were several moments that took my breath away with its beauty, and sadly just as many that repulsed me with how bad they were. Why are Seer's eyes so big? Why are these textures taking so long to load in? And what the fuck is this shit? That is not a Wookiee, and it's not even a walking fucking carpet. The entire planet of Kashyyyk looks like crap, making me not want to go back there at all after I beat the story to get the collectibles and finish exploring, because the immersion on that planet is constantly broken by how ugly that world looks. The cutscenes did consistently come through, though, looking beautiful and delivering very emotional moments, especially with Merrin. who, yes, was one of the 2 characters that cracked my top 10 Star Wars character list. She just seems so intriguing to me, and I hope we get to see more of her story in future content. Whether it be in a sequel game, comics, books, whatever, just give me more of her story. The Inquisitors also look badass in this game. I had a conversation with my friend Gotham from the Last of Us first playthrough video. By the way, you should go check out that video. I'll leave a link in the description. And I was telling him about the Inquisitors in the game, and he mentioned he felt the Star Wars Rebels TV show that introduced the Inquisitors made the design and story of the Inquisitors feel very cartoony. And I explained to him this game does a great job of humanizing the Inquisitors and making their story just as, if not more compelling than that of our main protagonists in this game. Star Wars is at its best when you like the villains more than the heroes, and this game does just that. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is the best game I have played this year. It is the best Star Wars game EA has made yet, and to me, this could very well go down as the best Star Wars game ever made. This game actually has me excited for the future of Star Wars video games under EA, especially after watching The Mandalorian and seeing how much that series could lend itself to an awesome open world bounty hunter game. As gamers, we have to give credit where credit is due. EA stepped out of the way and let Respawn make their game, and we all won because of it. So that's it for me, guys. As always, I want to know what you thought of the game. Did you enjoy Fallen Order, and what do you think that EA should do next with the Star Wars license? Let me know down in the comments. And again, if you like this video, please do hit the like button. And if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe. And make sure to hit the notification bell. And until next time, everyone, thank you so much for watching. May the Force be with you.